Yulia Tymoshenko is running in the Ukrainian presidential elections on the 25th of May. So far, Petro Poroshenko is leading the polls. Yulia Tymoshenko was the symbol of the 2004 Orange Revolution and Prime Minister until 2010, after which she was jailed in 2011. With Yanukovich's fall from power, she was released and is now campaigning in the southeast of the country, as well as courting Ukrainian nationalists. Considering the political gulf between the two electorates, it's a huge political gamble.
Welcome to Euronews. The situation for the country, for Ukraine, is particularly difficult. There is this huge tension with Russia. There is a threat of war, or at least of civil war. What do you think about the last statement and declaration coming from Russia, from Moscow, especially from the Kremlin, about the Ukrainian situation?
Civil war in Ukraine is impossible because Putin's aggression has no support in the east and south of Ukraine. Only 18% of people in the east and south think that Donetsk, Luhansk and Kharkiv Oblast should separate from Ukraine and join Russia. This is a very small figure, almost nothing. So there is no large-scale separatism, no civil war. There is a de facto undeclared war being waged by Putin against Ukraine, and this has to be stopped immediately.
Do you think that all the countries of the European Union are ready to go against Russia? Because many of them, or at least a consistent part of these countries, have an excellent relationship in reality with Moscow, and in particular personally with Putin, some of the European leaders. So do you really think that the European Union would be ready to do that, to take this step against Russia?
I think the world has understood for a long time that an authoritarian regime has been created in Russia, along with a closed economy, and rather unhealthy processes are being developed. The world has wondered how to normalize this situation. Putin has now given the world the opportunity to basically destroy the regime in Russia which threatens world peace. Crimea and Ukraine are traps for Putin, and he has walked into them. So I think the countdown has begun for the end of his regime.
Let's talk now about the election, the presidential election. The polls are showing that anyway you are increasingly getting good results, but still Poroshenko is apparently ahead in the polls. But don't you think that anyway, if this crisis will postpone the date of the election, could be a good solution for you, because anyway you will have the possibility to get even better results?
I am strongly against postponing the presidential elections to any other date. I think that the elections should take place on May the 25th, irrespective of anything. Because for the country, it is very important to get a legitimately elected president. I think it will be a strong stabilizing factor for the situation in Ukraine and a factor which will stop the economic crisis. I am sure the new president will act firmly and consistently and will be able to change a lot. That's how I will act.
I do remember you when you went on stage right after your liberation in Maidan. Did you expect then such an outcome and such a huge political and also, let me use this word, geopolitical crisis with Russia?
I couldn't have predicted such a turn of events, because in 23 years of independence, nobody could have imagined that Russia would start a war against Ukraine. But the revolution succeeded, and it has given Ukraine real independence and real freedom. Putin couldn't accept this revolution. He couldn't come to terms with it. He got used to feeling that through a sort of fifth column dependent on him in the government of the country, he could have his policies carried out, and he had plans to expand his empire at the expense of Ukraine. The revolution upset these plans of his.
There is a big problem in this country. The democratic and social representativity of the eastern part of the country. Because the party of region was a party. Yanukovych was, however, the expression of this party and of these regions. But anyway, without Yanukovych and with the party of region that became a kind of lame duck, the problem remains.
You are right in that Ukrainians in the east and the south feel a certain lack of attention. They do not have politicians to rely on. That's why, over the past few weeks, I have spent all my time in the eastern regions, in Donetsk, in Luhansk, and also near the blocked buildings, in order to hear the Ukrainians in the east, to understand their messages to the Ukrainian government. I want to understand what they want, what kind of support they want from the new Ukrainian government. And we are ready to support them. I think this is one of the main issues today, and I devote a lot of time to it, despite campaigning for the elections. I think the time has come, as one of the world's great presidents said, to heal the country's wounds and to unite instead of fighting each other. To understand and to take steps towards each other is the way to return to peace.
You were one of the main characters of the Orange Revolution. Could you make a comparison for our viewers that are not only necessarily Ukrainians, but also from many other countries, and try to explain what is the difference between the Orange Revolution and Maidan?
The Orange Revolution was partly born in support of a presidential candidate, Petro Poroshenko. So it was a revolution led and supported by politicians and won by people. This revolution is totally different. This revolution took place without the support of politics or politicians. It was a revolution of leaders from civil society and those who followed them. It was a revolution of Ukrainians who wanted freedom, and this is a crucial difference.
Thank you very much. Дякую.